here we are in Hale this morning on the Sib. Yeah, you just can't beat it, can you? Down nice and early. Just had a nice chat to some of the local fishermen here, some of the commercials. And you know what? I will say this about Hale. The commercial fishermen down here, the friendliest bunch you'll ever meet. In my experience, they've all been really nice guys. Always have a chat with them when I'm heading out, see how the fishing's been, and equally on the way back in. But yeah, just coming down the harbour now, and the Sib is nicely packed out for a full day on the water. Everything is up in here. We've got, look at that, a little teaser for later on. I'm going to try and do a mini sort of catch and cook on the boat today, but I'll explain more about that later. And also, I'm going to try and get onto some species today. That have a lot of bass fishing and pollock fishing recently, of which I'm sure we will catch both today. But I also want to try and maybe get something like a Cooch's bream. That's at least the plan, fingers crossed for that. But yeah, we've got to head about sort of 12, 15 miles west now, once we come out of Hale. And yeah, it's just going to be a nice day, sort of hugging the coast, exploring lots of different ground, trying a few different techniques, lures, bait, bit of all of it really. Just sort of see how we can get on. I'm not planning to be back here anytime soon. We are really out for the whole of it today. So yeah, let's go on out of the harbour and get on some fish today. All right, we are just coming out of the harbour mouth here at Hale. Check the swell out. There's a little bit of it today. That guy's on a hydrofoil. Very smooth. Yeah. There's not a lot of wind, that is always the key factor on these little inflatable boats, is you don't want much wind because it makes it real choppy on the surface, which is uncomfortable. And you get blown across because there's just hardly any weight to one of these boats. But it's looking pretty glassy smooth out here. That's exactly what we want to see. But if you're ever coming down here to Hale, seriously, be careful of the river mouth here on a big swell. You know, this is high tide when there's hardly any movement in the water. And even then, though, the swell is reaching the whole way across the mouth to the river. So yeah, it can be sporty at times, that's for sure. I mean, look, we've got some big sets coming up here. We'll just send the boat over it because, well, these light sibs, they do just do it. They just go straight over. Woo! Absolutely gliding. Oh, it's a nice feeling first thing in the morning. So there's a little bit of fog, a little bit of cloud. Hopefully that all lifts as the day goes on and it heats up. But first things first for us is we've got a cruise across the bay to St Ives, and then we're going to hug the coast all the way down towards Cape Cornwall. It's a trip that I've done before on this channel, and I do like doing this trip. It's a real adventure because you're going along a stretch of coast where, there's no places to stop. This is the last stop where we're at here. So yeah, we're on our own, and let's just see if we can get on some good fish today, guys. That'd be really nice to bring you guys along for this adventure. And well, yeah, let's get it. Behind me is St Ives. So we are now out on the open coast, and whoa, some huge swell rolling in here. That's massive. So we've had sort of westerly winds for the last week, and that is going to produce some pretty big onshore swell here. So, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, that's the nice thing about a light boat, is you just sort of sit on top of it. But yeah, it can be a bit scary when you sort of lose sight of the horizon sometimes. It's a bit foggy. I can sort of see down towards Gurnard Head and Pendeen down there. Well, sorry, I should say I can't see because it is foggy. But I mean, we're going to be really hugging the coast like we are right now. We're about sort of half a mile off the coast, and we're just going to sort of follow that line all the way down. All right, I got to give you guys a little bit of an update because we have come down to Pendine Lighthouse in the background there. Even though it's not too bad here, you know, I can see down towards Cape Cornwall and I just do not like the look of it. I can see a lot of sort of disturbed white water and it's just not worth the risk really. You know, in a small boat like this, it could be really bad down there. And, you know, I think if I stay this side of Pendine, sort of along the sort of coast here, we should be all right. I mean, it's going to be hard to fish with this big swell. You know, you never really know where your lure is in relation to the seabed, but we're going to give it a go, guys. You know, I'm not going to fish the reefs that I'd hoped to fish today, but we are going to fish reefs that I've never fished before and, you know, just try and find some new spots really along this bit of coast. So yeah, a little bit of a change of plan, but it's just what you've got to do when you're out on the water. You know, you've got to adapt to the conditions, and it's a lot more sort of oceanic and wild out here today than I was expecting. I was expecting a bit of swell, but this is pretty big for a sib. Your camera never does it justice when I'm from this perspective when I'm down the water, but yeah, there's some really, really big waves rolling in here, so we're playing it safe, I think, today. Let's just try and find some fish though along this stretch of the coast and fish some new bits of reef. Now, it can be quite difficult to fish in deep water. We're in 42 meters right now, and when you've got, well, we've got 5 meters of swell here. I know that because I can see the depth changing by 5 meters every couple seconds. So when you're in that deeper water and you've got, oh, that was a hit. Are we in? Oh, that was a nice hit then. Yep. Oh, there we go. Yep. Yep. That looks like a pollock, doesn't it? Yeah, when you're in deep water and you're trying to work a lure near the bottom, it can be really hard when you've got the swell lifting you up and down all the time, because you just don't really know exactly where your lure is until your line goes slack. And yeah, it's a bit of a challenge to overcome, but just found a nice little lump of rock on Navionics. Never fished it before. First drop, and we're into a fish. That's not a bad start, is it? Even if it is just a pollock, it's nice to get into something. All right, you can see it flashing away down there. No mistake in that colour. Oh, they are good fun though, pollock. You sort of get used to them because we get a lot, but they are good fun, good fighting fish. Yeah, lovely. On the black minnow there. And that is actually quite a small fish for this area. You know, sort of 4 or 5 pound. Hopefully he goes back. Yeah. All right, well, I need to tie a new leader because mine's looking a bit old, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how I do it. So I've got my braid, my main line wrapped around my little finger to keep it tight. We're going to tie an FG, so I've got my 20 pound fluorocarbon, and I'm literally, it's such an easy knot to tie this. I don't know why people are scared of it. It's literally just wrapping that line. You've got to keep tension on the rod, but just wrapping that line over and under whilst keeping tension. And all those little knots, they're going to start stacking up nicely. And after we've done about sort of 10 to 15 turns, you want, probably about there now, probably about 15. So I'll pinch the knot now like that, pinch it between my fingers, and then it's just a couple of overhand knots. So really, really easy to finish it off. I do three knots like this, just looping it over, pulling them nice and tight in between each one, don't have it loose. So this is the third one that we've just gone through. All right, now we're gonna just put a little bit of saliva on the knot just to pull it down. There we go, you can sort of see that it's all pulled in nicely there. And then
I do like to do after this, the final step is one more knot. And that's it. That is the FG knot. It takes 20 seconds. And yeah, really good knot to learn that one. If you're getting into fishing, at some point you are going to have to tie leader knots, and that is the best one to learn in my opinion. So we can tie on our black minnow. Oh, that's a good take. Go on. Yes. So I've just been working my way down from Pendeen over there, and as we're getting closer back towards St Ives, it's a much more manageable swell height. This much easier for me to fish in anyway. I mean, back there when we were in sort of 5 meters of swell, I had no idea where the lure was. I just kept getting snagged up. It was not fun. And yeah, as we're coming back now towards St Ives, it's easing off a little bit, and the fish are plenty. I tell you what, they're not the biggest stamp of pollock, you know. There's no double figures today, but I'll take a couple of 5-pound fish any day. Still good fun on the lure gear. So that's the best thing about going light, is, you know, you're always gonna get a good bit of sport out of the fish, no matter what size they may be. So yeah, on a lovely bit of reef right now. Look at that drop there. So I've come a bit closer into the shoreline, because when I was fishing in the deep water, I was catching a lot of pollock, and I just think if I can come into a bit of shallower water, then I'm gonna have a better chance of catching a bass. So yeah, that's what we're gonna try for here over the shallow reef. We're in 17 meters of water. So yeah, let's have a go with crazy paddle tail. Yeah, just gonna give this one a little flick. I'm actually gonna vertically fish for the bass today, or at least on this bit of reef, just because it's there's not really many rocks around here. It's all kind of just flattish reef that sticks up a meter or two from the seabed, but I've got a hunch that there might be some here. Hey, we caught a bass. If this one's 42 centimeters, he's going to be our lunch. Let's have a little look. We only want a small fish for lunch today, because it's just me eating it. So I don't really want anything too much bigger than 42 centimeters. In fact, if anything, I could do with one slightly under 42 centimeters, just because it can be quite a lot of food for one person. But let's have a little measure. What's he going to be? He is, oh look at that, he's 42 on the nose. He is. So yeah, that's going to be lunch. So what I'm going to do now is, it's a little bit brutal, but it's just going to give him a whack on the head with this. That's going to stun him at least. All right. So now he's sort of a bit sleepy. Then we're going to grab the knife. Just got a knife in the box here, and I'm going to come over here and bleed him off the side of the boat. Okay, just gonna come in and cut his gill rakes with the knife, and I just got to be careful because I don't want to cut myself. Obviously, it's a bit of a balancing act. All right, and we're going to bleed him in the water now. Just get all of that blood out, as it's gonna make it taste a lot better. Give him a whack on the head just to knock him out, and then bleeding it just basically gets all of the sort of lactic acid and everything that builds up in the fish when they're stressed out. Bleeding it's just a good way to get all of that out of the fish so that the meat's nice and clean. So pretty much done now. It doesn't take long, just got to hold them there, and then he's not dripping blood anymore, then he goes in the cool box. I got a bit of ice in there just to keep them nice and cold, and then he is going to have a few things added for lunch later on. I'm getting pretty hungry now, and this bay just seems like the perfect place to sort of shelter out of the swell and prepare some lunch. And I'm going to be having the bass that I've just caught. I'm going to be preparing ceviche for us this afternoon. Now, I've eaten ceviche before, love it, never tried to make it myself. I'm going to give it a shot today. I've got all the things that I think I need. So yeah, let's have a crack at it. So the reason that ceviche is a good lunch to have on a sib is because it doesn't require any flame. That is where I draw the line on sort of doing things on an inflatable boat. I'm not going to cook with a naked flame because that's just asking for trouble. I mean, you touch a flame against one of these tubes, that's it, good night. The sib's done for. So all we need for this recipe is some limes. That's what's going to essentially cook the fish. Well, sort of, not really, but chilies, tomatoes, red onion, a little bit of Tabasco and some salt. So I'm going to chop all that up, squeeze the lemons, fillet the bass, make some lunch. I've diced up the red onion nice and fine, along with the tomato, and then we're going to chuck all of that in the tub. And this is going to be like our mixing bowl, essentially. So we'll get all that in. Well, I got a lovely little pile of bass meat now, all chopped into tiny little thin pieces, similar size to what I've cut the tomatoes. So yeah, basically just going to chuck all of those bits of fish in the box. And yeah, it seems weird because it's raw fish essentially, being mixed with vegetables, but that's just how we're going to do it today. I'm going to come in with a bit of salt now. Well, quite a lot of salt actually. I don't I don't think you can go over the top with salt when it's tomatoes and raw fish, you know. So quite a lot of salt. I'm gonna hit it with a bit of Tabasco just to give it a bit of a peppery sort of flavour. I don't really think you need to add Tabasco. It's just something that I had with me, and I thought, well, I'm sure it won't do any harm. And then the important part to this is the limes, lemons or limes, but that's what's gonna really bring it all together, is the citrus juice or the lime juice. So we're going to get that squeezed into the tub now. I got 2 limes. I think really I could have done maybe with another one because these are a little bit dry, but I'm going to properly juice them, don't worry. But yeah, I really fancied having a go at making ceviche in this video because I don't really see many people making it with bass, and you know, sort of locally anyway. And I mean, when I was living and working in Bermuda years ago, we had Filipino chefs on board the ship, and they would make this almost every other day, pretty much. Especially if we ever caught any sort of tuna or anything like that. This was always on the menu, ceviche, and it was, you know, I just remember it being a really sort of good tasting fresh meal. And I sort of thought about it the other day. I was like, oh, what can I make on the sib? You know, what can I do as a sort of bit of a catch and cook? And as we discussed earlier, anything that involves a flame is sort of out of the equation on this boat, because it's just, yeah, it's too much of a health and safety risk. So yeah, this is what I've sort of fallen back to, is yeah, a bit of a sort of trial recipe. I'm really hungry, so it actually smells pretty good as it is right now. I'm just trying to get all of the juice out of these limes, and I'm not actually going to be able to eat it just yet. I'm going to have to put it back in the cool box and let it sort of cook itself, because what happens is the I'm not 100% sure on what the reaction is, but the citrus basically kills the bacteria inside the fish, or on the sort of surface of the fish. But you know, it is important to do this with fresh fish, and that's what we've got today. So right, that's quite a lot of juice in there now. All right, it's looking nice and juicy in there, so I'm just going to put the lid on. I was a bit of an idiot, I didn't bring any forks or spoons or anything like that, but I'm just going to give it a really good shake up in the tub. And yeah, just sort of let that sit like that whilst we go and do a bit of fishing. There's a top water bust up literally happening right in front of me. It's bass as well. Just gonna wind this through really quickly, see if I can get them to take it. I think they're feeding on really small sand eels, so I don't know if they will, but I just heard the noise and I was like, hang on a minute, I recognise that noise. Quite a lot of them here. Problem is if they're really switched on to sand eel, they're probably not going to hit this because it's just a bit too big. You know, you do get that with bass fishing, is if you don't get a really good... Oh no, we're on winter one then. Oh, is he on? Yeah, we're on. We're on, boys. We're on. Not a bad fish this over, actually. Proper head shaking. Oh. Well, as I was saying, if you if you don't exactly match the hatch, they're not interested a lot of the time, but that one was. Yeah, nice little bass, this one. He's having a good run in the tide, that's for sure. Yeah, just funny that how it happens. You just get a little mini busts up. There's another bass following it. There's two of them there. The one I've got hooked ain't bad fish actually. Not for this neck of the woods anyway. Let's see if I can get him up to the side of the boat here to show you guys. Yeah, he's no monster, but I often find this part of Cornwall is you don't really get many fish over 60 centimeters. So a fish like this one, you know, a sort of 3 pound fish is actually quite a welcome sight. He's the biggest one I've had today anyway. Yeah, nice bass. I'll get that one unhooked and getting back. All right, let's try this ceviche. So as you can see, the fish has actually gone white now, so that lime juice has sort of cooked it in a way, you know, sort of, not with heat, but yeah, instead of being like a translucent, it's sort of gone into a whitish color now. So yeah, it could probably do with something green in there, like cucumber or something maybe, but hey, that's all I had. Fish, tomato, onion. Didn't even have any knives and forks apparently, so. That is nice. That's really nice. Whew. A bit spicy, because I put a whole chili in and a load of Tabasco, but the fish on its own, that's phenomenal. Washed down with a fizzy one. It was fizzy as well when I opened it. Sprayed out everywhere because I've been bouncing around all morning. Cheers. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Life doesn't get much better, guys. Out on your boat, you know, complete freedom to go where you want, do what you want. No one to tell you what to do. It's just the best feeling ever, being out here on this wild bit of coastline, tucking into fish that we caught an hour ago. That is really good. I'm not just saying it either. No. The texture, really nice. Not fishy at all. You'd think it would be, because it's not been cooked, but the lime and the chili just sort of, yeah, mixes really well with that flavour. That's really nice. So, Yeah, give it a try. A bit of ceviche if you're out. You know, you don't need to bring much with you. And that might be a new favourite for me. The bass is probably perfect fish for it. Because it's not too oily. Like mackerel might be a bit oily. Yeah, it's still got a bit of flavour, unlike a pollock. So, yeah. Oh, that is good. That is a really nice combo. It's just fresh. So, yeah, I'll try and polish this off, actually. It's pretty yummy. I'll get through most of it. Polish this off and then start heading back up the coast and do a bit of fishing on the way. Oh, it has come out really nice now this afternoon. Completely different to what it was this morning. Still some big old rolling swell, but it is pleasant. And I just had this thought, what better way to relax and unwind than to catch a toothy shark on an inflatable boat? Yeah. Gonna have a bit of tope fishing this afternoon on the drift. I actually really enjoy tope fishing this time of year, sort of June. They can be around in good numbers on the sort of north coast along here. It can be great fun. So yeah, we just got to get a bit of bait first, get a bit of mackerel on, and then we'll set about a nice long drift along the bay to see if we can get on some sharks. Well, I'm having a really hard time catching mackerel this afternoon, but I am getting lots of pollock like this. So why not use that for bait? I mean, it's not ideal. I'd rather have mackerel. It's got more scent in it, but I reckon we could spend a lot of time trying to get mackerel and just, you know, completely sort of waste that time that we could be drifting a bait. And yeah, I sort of have this approach to bait fishing where I won't come out with frozen bait in the summer, especially because I just like to use whatever I can catch on the day as well, that's what the fish are going to be feeding on, isn't it? I mean, tope, they're predatory. They'll take anything, really, anything they can fit in their mouths. So yeah, I think a fillet of pollock, it's not ideal, but we're going to give it a go today. Well, what we're going to be using for tope fishing really is as basic as it gets. When it comes to boat fishing, we've got an ugly stick rod, a big spinning reel, 50-pound braid, and then the same rig I use for just about anything, really. Running ledger, got 8 ounces of weight of lead to get it down there. And then, I mean, the most important thing really with tope fishing is just a decent trace. This is 80-pound mono, a couple of feet of it down to a 6/0 hook. So yeah, fairly big hook and nice strong line, just because they have got teeth and obviously they'll bite through 20-pound fluoro like nothing. So yeah, I've just nicked the pollock fillet on there, nice flapping bait with a bit of scent on it. That's going to go down now and work its way along the reef of the tide. We have got quite a bit of tide pushing us along at the moment, probably about a knot and a half. So yeah, there's quite a bit of it, and I mean, it does help to have a bit of a drift going for tope fishing. I think some people fish for them at anchor, but I would personally always fish for them on the drift. And what I've done now is I'm just sort of getting a feel for where the bottom is on this rod. I'm just giving it a couple of winds off, just so that the rig isn't actually in contact with the seabed. Because the problem is when you're drifting at a knot or so, and you're using heavy leads, you're really likely to get snagged up in that. Whatever structure's down there, if there's a little rock, it could be, you know, there's a tiny little lump sticking up off the seabed, and you'll get snagged up in it. And with 80-pound trace, it's going to be difficult to get that out. So yeah, I'm just sort of working the baits ever so slightly off the bottom, just sort of feeling every now and then, because I don't want it to be really high up. I literally just want it to sort of be suspending a metre or so above it, so that when we sort of lift and fall with the swell, it's not bumping along and getting snagged. All right, and I actually have brought some rod holders along with me today, so that's going to be nice. We'll stick that one in there, and then it's just a case chilling out and enjoying the sun. It's a beautiful day, no one else fishing. Oh, this is a big tope. Well, I'm guessing it's a tope. It is heavy. Been fighting it for about 10 minutes now. I thought it was the bottom at first, but yeah, it did start swimming off again. I've got this ugly stick, 20-pound rod, literally bent double on this fish right now. Cannot put a whole lot more pressure on it, but I'm just taking my time. I'm not in any rush to get this fish up, and because I'm only on 80-pound leader, I don't want to put too much weight on it because it could just snap if it catches on a tooth or something like that. But yeah, they're good. Oh, this is a beast. I've just seen it. Oh my God. Feels so bizarre catching sharks on a sieve. Because when you see them under the boat, they almost look like the same size as the boat. This is a giant. Oh, well, I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this fish into the boat by myself. I could drag it in, but it's just a risk of it turning around and biting me or the boat. But take a look at this. What a magnificent creature. Oh, he's a heavy old fish. There we go. Oh my God. Woo. Nice big tope. Yeah, that's a PB for me. All right, I'm not going to hold him out of the water too long. I'm going to slide him back now and get him on his way. Whew. Man. What a sick fish though. Yeah, that was a good workout. Bit of adrenaline. Getting him unhooked there. Yeah, well, the smaller ones are 20-pounders. They're quite easy to manage on your own at the side of the boat. But he was a handful. Yeah, he was pretty strong. But that was great. Really nice to get on one of those again. So I'll go straight back down. Got a little pollock fillet here, ready to go. So they seem to be liking this pollock fillet today. Had 2 fish in really quick succession on it. So I drop down and go for the same again. Well, would appear that we've got another tope. Whoa. Serious power on these fish. I mean, yeah, I'm not using the heaviest gear, but they pull. I mean, you might not have much of a perception of what's going on around me, but I'm getting pulled along here by this fish. You know, we're doing sort of 2-3 knots. This is the funny thing about fishing on a light little sip like this. Yeah, you really feel everything. And the fish usually feels like it's got the upper hand. Because right now it's not feeling a whole lot of weight against it. So it's just pulling the boat around. Yeah, good tope this. It's just been a really nice afternoon on them where we've just had basically a fish adrift. And sometimes when you're tope fishing, you can get plagued by sort of smaller 10 to 15-pound fish. But this afternoon they've all been really nice size. So yeah, certainly no complaints from me there. I don't do a lot of this sort of fishing, but when I do, and it all sort of comes together nicely, really enjoy it. I'm actually putting a lot of pressure on this fish to get it up because we're getting near the shallow reef. And this is the thing about tope fishing is I've always had my best sessions on them when I have fished fairly close to a bit of reef, and you know, you can fish for them out in 50 meters of water, miles and miles from shore, but it doesn't really seem like you need to here in Cornwall. You really can get on some good fish within sort of a mile or two of shore once you get past the really shallow reef. Oh, another absolute stonker down there. My goodness. What are we going to do with you then, Mr. Tope? Because you're not coming in this boat. That is massive. I actually think I did a pretty good job of getting that up, considering how big it is. Here we are. Oh, yeah, that's a big old fish, isn't it? When they're lined up next to a sib like this. Yeah. They are pretty impressive. And that one's hooked perfectly in the jaw. I have actually been quite lucky with the hookups on them today. I only had one that I had to cut. Oh, man, a lot of energy on that fish. Oh. Yeah, always get a bit worried when they come up under the boat. I just don't want them to bite the tubes. Oh, amazing creatures, aren't they? Look at that. That is incredible. You know, sort of always forget that we've got them here in our waters, and you know, this session has proved that they really are here, and there's plenty of them. So have a go. All right, we're gonna have to deal with this fish somehow. I don't think I'm gonna get him in the boat. We'll see. We'll see how he is. If he's thrashing around, then I won't. But I'll get him unhooked and get back to you. Well, folks, I did just have a bit of a spur of the moment idea of how I could get the tope into the boat safely. Take a look at that. I know it looks a bit weird, but what I've done is I've used my drogue to sort of catch the nose of the tope so that his teeth aren't exposed, and sort of used it as a sling to lift him out of the water, which worked really well actually. It's kept him really calm, and yeah, it's just allowed me to sort of get a really good hold on the tail of the fish, and I'm sort of supporting the weight of it with the drogue. So yeah, not really what it's intended for, a drogue, but got to be careful here that it doesn't start doing damage to me or the boat. Yeah, that's got to be around the 40-pound mark. Very heavy fish, almost as long as me. Yeah, that's how we do it. Woo-hoo. All right, I'm going to get the hook out of this guy now and get him released. Oh my God. This has been a crazy afternoon fishing for tope. We've had 3 good fish to the boat. I've definitely broken my PB. And just a really nice afternoon. The fog's coming again. It's sort of really disorientating actually how thick the fog is. I can't see land. I'm only about 2 miles from shore, but I can't see land, and I roughly know sort of where I am even without looking at navionics, just because I can see a navigation buoy and some rocks. So yeah, that's good for me. But I am going to spend the rest of the sort of evening just doing a little bit more reef fishing, see if we can get a few more fish on the lures before we head in. I mean, it's pretty pleasant out here really, so I'm not rushing back in with the tide. So let's see if we can make the most of this and get on a few more nice fish to end the day. Yes, on to a fish to end the day. Let's go. Looks like a bass, this one. When they come up on the surface like that, and you can see your line up high in the water from a long way away. And nice run. Yeah, you know that's a bass then. Pollock don't really do that, so always dead giveaway. Oh, it's not a bad fish, this one. Yeah, we don't get many big bass on the Stones Reef where I'm at the moment, but There's usually always a couple, which is nice. This is actually a pretty good fish for here. Yeah, nice fish. Always find the start of the flood a good time for better fish out here. I don't know why, but oh, come on. Really doesn't want me to hold him. Hey, there we go. Nice bass. Well, unfortunately, my GoPro's died and I couldn't film an outro. But don't fear, I've come all the way out to the Eddystone today, 15 miles, just to film an outro for you guys. What an awesome adventure that was. I mean, that part of Cornwall, it is the depths of Cornwall, and it is so remote and raw. The coastline along there is beautiful. So not only was that nice, but to get onto some tope, that is a hell of a lot of fun on one of these sibs, feeling it pull you along, you know, a fair few knots. I wouldn't recommend anyone goes and does it. It does come with risks, but if you know how to handle a tope and you're confident on one of these sibs, give it a try. Just take care. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little adventure. Let me know down in the comments. I do read them all, and a lot of them make me smile, so thank you. It motivates me to keep making more. Subscribe if you haven't done so already for more crazy adventures like this one today. 15 miles on a sib. Well, cheers for watching, guys. See you on the next one.